to speak on the current state of the world, and I'm going to do so by talking a little bit about things like D&D. And this is going to get wordy, but stick with me. The truth about storytelling is that a good, compelling story is rarely one where what the protagonists face is no big deal. In a good, immersive, compelling story, everything that the protagonists face feels insurmountable. You don't actually know for sure if they're going to succeed. Not knowing if you can trust an NPC. Not knowing if the monster that you're encountering is capable of doing something that you should be afraid of. Not knowing how many rests you'll have to recover your resources before you encounter the final boss of the dungeon. Because if you knew all these things, it would be objectively less compelling. I don't think I'm saying anything that reinvents the wheel. I've been a player for a long time, and then I transitioned to primarily being a DM for a really long time. And as I made that transition, I realized more and more that that sense of uncertainty is all an illusion because of the difference of perspective. Just because the players can't see a way to achieve their goals doesn't mean they won't succeed. If you can create that experience, the party might feel well and truly trapped, overwhelmed, with all of the adversity stacking up against them, like blotting out the sun so that there's no light for them to actually see through to where it all ends, to what the other side of this conflict even looks like. And the reason I talk about all that is because that difference in perspective is something that I've been thinking about a lot. It is late on the evening of January 31st right now, 2025. I could list off the various things going on in the world right now, the things that are keeping me awake and making it very hard for me to function, but there are other people who can compile that information better than I can, and it's not really the purpose of me trying to make this video. My point is that I feel like I am in the center of a hurricane with a violent and destructive storm all around me, the likes of which that I thought only existed in the Old Testament. I don't want anyone to listen to what I've said here and think that the point that I'm trying to make is that we're in a compelling story. The point that I'm making is that I know this feeling in a very abstract and unexpected way. It is a feeling that I've played around with recreationally in fictional settings, fully removed from any real-world harm. It is that feeling of being in a volatile and overwhelming storm where what it feels like we're up against is insurmountable. And that feeling, even when it's in a fictional setting and no harm's really going to come to you, can be so dense that you cannot see where that maelstrom ends. And so it's really easy to believe that it doesn't. And I think the small and fragile and tattered little shred of wisdom that I'm trying to share is just that. There are so many points in history where some horrible, widespread atrocities have taken place, all throughout human history. And as we live in this moment where it feels like the floor is falling out from under us, I try to remind myself that those people in those moments in history did not know that there was going to be an end date to their nightmares. They saw everything around them just progressively getting worse, with no sign that it would ever get better, and they were just in the center of that maelstrom, just trying to survive. I am an incurably optimistic person, and I really wish I was putting out a more optimistic message. I don't like how this sounds. But I cannot honestly look at this camera and say that everything's going to be okay. I really want to speak with that kind of comfort. That's who I am. But this shit is bad. It's not all going to be okay. Not for everybody. And I don't want to speak like those people will not exist and suffer. The storm around us is too dense to see through right now. And it might be that way for a while yet. When you look out and you can't see where it ends, know that it does. All you can do is keep walking forward as much as you're able to. Look to your left and right, and you'll find that you're not alone in the nightmare. If someone beside you falls, pick them up. You might be like me and know that you're not strong enough to control any part of the storm. But if all of us can just endeavor to keep one other person safe, then none of us will have to do this alone. There are people who are stronger than me, than most of us, who are fighting for us. Put your trust in them. Lean on them. Now is not a time to worry about feeling like a burden. This is what it means to be human. To be a social creature who made it this far through evolution, through community and cooperation. That person on your right and left, those will be your heroes, and you will be theirs. Many years from now, when there is a textbook published that talks about this period of history, like all other periods of history, there will be a date there in the printed text where it ends. We're gonna make it there, and I'll see you there.